Everything is about to change, and this time, there's no miracle to stop it. The Chosen Season 6 Episode 1 trailer isn't just emotional, it's devastating. We're stepping into the moment where hope begins to fade, where faith is tested like never before, and where Jesus walks directly into the darkest chapter of his life. But what makes this episode so powerful isn't just what happens, it's how it happens. Every word, every silence, every look carries a weight that feels heavier than anything we've seen before. And trust me, once you understand what this episode is really setting up, you'll never watch it the same way again. We begin exactly where everything starts to fall apart, the quiet, heavy atmosphere of the Garden of Gethsemane. There's something different here. The calm we once associated with Jesus is now mixed with a deep sense of sorrow. You can feel it even before anything happens. This is not just another moment of prayer, this is the moment where Jesus fully understands what is about to come. And for the first time, we truly see the emotional weight he's carrying. He's not running. He's not hiding. He's choosing to stay. And that decision alone makes this episode incredibly powerful. Because deep down, we all know what's coming next, and yet, watching him accept it so calmly makes it even harder to process. As the tension slowly builds, the silence becomes louder than anything else. Every second feels stretched, like time itself doesn't want to move forward. But then, it happens. The arrival of the soldiers. And suddenly, everything changes. The peace of the garden is shattered in an instant. The same place that once felt safe now feels cold and threatening. And right at the center of it all stands Jesus, calm, steady, and completely aware of what's about to happen. There's no confusion in his no fear in his movements. Just acceptance. And that's what makes this moment so heartbreaking. Because he's not being caught off guard, he's allowing it to happen. But what truly makes this scene unforgettable is Judas. This isn't just a betrayal, it's a moment filled with regret, hesitation, and overwhelming guilt. You can feel that he knows he's making the biggest mistake of his life, yet he still goes through with it. That small moment, that single action, changes everything forever. And the way this episode builds up to it makes it even more painful. There's no dramatic explosion, no sudden shock, it's slow, emotional, and deeply uncomfortable to watch. Because it feels real. And then comes the moment that shifts the entire tone of the season, the arrest. Not chaotic, not rushed, but controlled, almost unsettlingly calm. Jesus doesn't resist. He doesn't argue. He simply steps forward. And in that one action, we realize something terrifying, this is exactly how it was meant to happen. The disciples, confused and overwhelmed, can't fully understand what's going on. You can feel their panic, their fear, their disbelief. Just moments ago, everything felt normal, and now, it's all falling apart right in front of them. What makes episode 1 so different from anything we've seen before is how personal it feels. This isn't just a story anymore, it's an experience. You're not just watching events unfold, you're feeling every moment of it. The pain, the confusion, the heartbreak, it's all there, and it's impossible to ignore. And the trailer makes it very clear, this is only the beginning. Because from this point forward, there's no going back. And that's what makes this episode so powerful. It's not just setting up the crucifixion, it's preparing us emotionally for everything that's about to happen. Every scene, every moment, every silence is building towards something much bigger. Something heavier. Something that will stay with us long after the episode ends. And if this is how episode 1 begins, then what comes next might be even harder to watch. And just when it feels like things couldn't get any heavier. Episode 1 takes us even deeper into the emotional chaos that follows the arrest. Because this isn't just about Jesus being taken away, it's about everything and everyone around him starting to break. The disciples, who once stood so confidently beside him, are now completely shaken. You can feel their fear growing with every passing second. Nothing makes sense anymore. The man they believed could do anything, is now allowing himself to be taken without resistance. And that confusion creates a silence between them that feels louder than any words they could say. What makes this part of the episode so powerful is how real it feels. There's no dramatic hero moment, no sudden miracle to save the situation. Instead, we're left with raw emotion, panic, disbelief, and a growing sense that something terrible is about to unfold. And right in the middle of it all, we begin to see the separation. The unity that once defined the group starts to fade. Some hesitate, some step back, and others don't even know what to do. It's the first clear sign that everything Jesus built with them is about to be tested in the hardest way possible. At the same time, the focus slowly shifts toward Jesus as he is taken away under guard. And once again, what stands out the most isn't what he says, but what he doesn't say. There's a quiet strength in his silence, a calmness that almost feels out of place considering everything happening around him. While others are overwhelmed, he remains steady. And that contrast makes every moment even more intense. Because deep down, we realize, he's already accepted what's coming. There's no struggle left in him. No hesitation. Just purpose. But the emotional weight doesn't stop there. As the episode continues, we begin to feel something even more unsettling, the sense of isolation. Jesus, who was never truly alone, is now being separated from everyone who followed him. Step by step, he's being taken further away, not just physically, but emotionally as well. And that distance hits harder than anything else. Because it reminds us that this journey, no matter how many people were once part of it, is something he has to face on his own. And then there's Peter. You can feel the internal conflict building inside him. He wants to stay strong, he wants to remain loyal, but fear is starting to take over. The situation is no longer something he can control, and that loss of control begins to shake his confidence. It's subtle, but it's there. The beginning of doubt. The beginning of a moment that we all know is coming, but still aren't ready to see. And that's what makes this episode so emotionally intense. It doesn't rush anything. It lets these feelings grow slowly, naturally, until they become impossible to ignore. Meanwhile, the atmosphere continues to shift into something darker. The energy of the episode changes from confusion to inevitability. It no longer feels like something that might happen, it feels like something that cannot be stopped. And that realization creates a deep sense of tension that stays with you through every second. You're not just watching events unfold, you're waiting, almost dreading, what's about to come next. And that's where episode 1 truly shines. It doesn't rely on action or sudden twists to keep you engaged. Instead, it builds its power through emotion, through silence, through the slow realization that this is only the beginning of something far more painful. Every moment feels like a step closer to something unavoidable. Something heartbreaking. Because now, it's clear. This isn't just the start of a new season. This is the beginning of the end. And just when you think the emotional weight has reached its peak, episode 1 quietly shifts into something even more intense. Because now, it's no longer just about what's happening around Jesus, it's about what's happening to him. As he's taken deeper into custody, the tone becomes colder, more controlled, and far more unsettling. The chaos from before starts to fade, replaced by something much more dangerous, calculated judgment. This is where we begin to see the first signs of what's coming next, the questioning, the accusations, the silent tension that fills every moment. But what makes this part so powerful isn't loud confrontation, it's the imbalance. Jesus stands completely alone, surrounded by people who have already made up their minds about him. There's no real search for truth here. No fairness. Just a process that feels designed to lead to one outcome. And that realization creates a deep sense of discomfort that stays with you. At the center of it all is Jesus himself. And once again, his presence changes everything. While others speak with urgency, with frustration, even with anger, he remains calm. Not weak. Not defeated. Just calm. And that calmness becomes almost impossible to ignore. Because it's not the calm of someone who doesn't understand the situation, it's the calm of someone who understands it completely. Every question thrown at him, every accusation made against him, it doesn't shake him. If anything, it makes his silence feel even more powerful. But at the same time, we start to feel the emotional cost of that silence. Because while Jesus remains steady, everything around him continues to spiral. The people questioning him grow more impatient. Their frustration builds with every answer he gives, or doesn't give. And you can feel that tension rising, slowly pushing the situation towards something darker. Something more aggressive. It's no longer just about proving a point, it's about breaking him. And that's where episode 1 becomes truly difficult to watch. Because you begin to realize that this isn't just a moment of questioning, it's the beginning of suffering. Not just physical, but emotional. The kind of suffering that comes from being misunderstood, from being judged without reason, from standing alone while everyone else turns against you. And even though Jesus never loses his composure, you can still feel the weight of everything he's carrying. It's there in every pause, every look, every quiet moment that says more than words ever could. Meanwhile, outside of all this, the world doesn't stop. The disciples are still trying to process everything that's happening, but the distance between them and Jesus continues to grow. And that separation becomes more than just physical, it becomes emotional. The connection they once had feels like it's slipping away, moment by moment. And that's what makes this part so heartbreaking, because you can feel that they're losing him, even before everything has fully unfolded. And then there's the growing sense of inevitability. By this point in the episode, it becomes clear that nothing is going to stop what's already in motion. Every step forward feels like a step deeper into something unavoidable. Something final. And even though no official decision has been made yet, it already feels decided. That's the true power of this episode. It doesn't need to show everything all at once. It builds slowly, carefully, allowing the weight of each moment to settle before moving forward. And by doing that, it creates an experience that feels real, almost too real. Because now, we're no longer just watching the story unfold. We're feeling it happen, one moment at a time. And just when it feels like the tension can't get any heavier. Episode 1 pushes us into one of the most emotionally devastating turning points so far. Because now, the pressure surrounding Jesus begins to take a darker, more personal form. The questioning is no longer just about words, it's about control, humiliation, and power. You can feel the shift immediately. The atmosphere becomes colder, more hostile, and far less restrained. And for the first time in the episode, it truly feels like things are slipping beyond anything anyone can fix. What makes this moment so difficult to process is how unfair everything feels. The people in charge aren't looking for truth anymore, they're looking for confirmation of what they've already decided. Every question is loaded. Every reaction feels forced. And even when Jesus responds with calm clarity, it changes nothing. If anything, it only makes them more determined to push him further. That's what makes this part so intense, because no matter what he says, the outcome isn't going to change. And yet, even in the middle of all this, Jesus remains exactly who he has always been. There's no anger, no resistance, no attempt to fight back. Just that same quiet strength we've seen from the very beginning. But now, it feels heavier. More painful. Because this time, his silence isn't just powerful, it's heartbreaking. It's the silence of someone who knows that the people around him won't understand, no matter what he says. At the same time, we begin to feel the emotional impact of everything happening on the people who once stood closest to him. The fear that started earlier is now turning into something even more painful, distance. The disciples aren't just confused anymore, they're starting to pull away. Not because they want to, but because they don't know how to stay. The situation has become too overwhelming. Too dangerous, too real. And that slow separation creates one of the most emotional layers of the entire episode. And then there's Peter. This is where his internal struggle becomes impossible to ignore. You can feel the weight building inside him, the fear of being recognized, the pressure of the moment, the overwhelming need to protect himself. He wants to stay loyal. He wants to stand strong. But the reality of what's happening around him begins to break that confidence piece by piece. And even before anything is said, you can feel what's coming. That quiet tension, that hesitation in his actions, It all points toward a moment that will define everything. Meanwhile, the situation surrounding Jesus continues to grow more intense. The voices become louder, the accusations more aggressive, and the patience of those in power begins to fade. It's no longer just about proving guilt, it's about pushing the moment forward, forcing it into something final. And that's where the episode creates one of its strongest feelings: inevitability. There's no escape from this. No sudden turn. No miracle waiting at the last second. Just a path that's moving forward, no matter what. And as this realization settles in, the emotional weight becomes almost overwhelming. Because now, it's not just about what's happening to Jesus, it's about what's happening to everyone around him. The fear, the doubt, the separation, it's all building at the same time, creating a sense of loss that feels deeper with every passing moment. That's what makes this section so powerful. It doesn't rely on big dramatic moments to hit hard. Instead, it slowly pulls you into the emotion, letting it grow until it becomes impossible to ignore. You're not just watching a story unfold, you're feeling the tension, the heartbreak, and the quiet realization that everything is changing. And by the time this part of the episode reaches its end, one thing becomes painfully clear. The moment everyone feared is closer than